Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners. I'd like to announce that we met in executive session on a legal matter. I'll announce that we met in executive session on a legal matter prior to this meeting. Try and get the microphones on. If not, we'll...
It's on.
Yes.
Yes.
Gentile, if you would please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Here.
Mr. Oliva.
Here.
McCluskey.
Here.
Mr. Siegel.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Mr. Garrett.
Here.
Dr. Hart.
Here.
Mr. Holmes is in transit over here shortly, and Mr. Wexler.
Here. I'd ask everyone to please stand for the opening prayer led by the Reverend Tim Johansson, and then remain standing for the second.
I'm not Tim, but I'm Mary Jane Kirby. We switched, but I'm glad to be praying here in this new building for the first time. So for me, let us pray. Lord God, you bless us in many ways. We thank you for old and new and for opportunities to know your direction and leadership. And so it is that we pray for your leadership this evening. We thank you for our community. We thank you for all those who serve. We pray for blessings upon them, protection, guidance, and strength. We are thankful. We ask now that you would bless us, help us to be sensitive to one another, help us to be one, and to be guided by your Spirit. We thank you, Lord, in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Viola, I'd ask you to come forward.
Thank you, Commissioners. Stand up. It's your night. Commissioners, pardon my back. The department in 2011 began to honor one of its members. This honor was designated as the Officer of the Year. The award recognizes an outstanding individual performance from an officer that exhibits a commitment to their profession and exceptional achievement over the previous year. Excuse me. Candidates for Officer of the Year are nominated by the supervisors of the police department. Then the supervisors, through a majority vote, select one candidate as the department's Officer of the Year. The 2018 Officer of the Year is Officer Corey Watkins. Officer Watkins was hired in September 2011 and is the 7th year with this department. Officer Watkins shows leadership qualities beyond his years of service. While assigned to the Patrol Division last year, he was an all-around leader in many statistical categories. Officer Watkins adds valuable input at roll calls and on the street to help officers better perform their duties. This input allows fellow officers to be well prepared, both mentally, physically, and tactfully. His work ethic is an example to young officers, and he is always available to help when needed, without question. His leadership qualities include being diplomatic, empathetic, compassionate, while remaining humble and performing his duties. Officer Watkins puts tremendous effort and pride into the field training program. His work as a field training officer prepares newly hired officers with the tools and mindset to be a successful officer with this department. Officer Watkins' leadership qualities are often displayed while performing his duties on the special response team by taking a team-first mentality and has served on the team for the last 3 years. He's also assigned a canine decoy officer and is a member of the Delaware County Major Incident Response Team. Being a member of the community, Officer Watkins takes pride in his approach to community policing. He's often described as being very personable and approachable. He often stops at township businesses, schools, and parks, converses with citizens and children. His level of dedication to the department and the community is unquestionable. Officer Watkins is here tonight with his wife Lori and their daughters Gracie, Molly, and Maggie, his mother and father Michelle and Mark Osborne, and his mother-in-law and father-in-law Kathy and Stan Warfield. Congratulations to Officer Corey Watkins, 2018 Officer of the Year.
Got the police committee up here as well? Thanks. Well, I don't think it's any secret my support of our emergency services, especially our police department, so I'm thrilled to be able to present this award to Corey Watkins. I also want to thank everyone that's here. I think we should give a round of applause for all the police officers. Okay, whereas Officer Corey Watkins has performed diligently and faithfully the duties and services required of him by the Township of Haverford, and whereas the performance of Officer Corey Watkins was in the highest standard of the law enforcement profession, and whereas a vote has been taken by the Police Department supervisory staff to recognize Officer Corey Watkins' outstanding contributions. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Officer Corey Watkins is hereby commended for his diligent and valuable service presented this 14th day of May 2018, Township of Haverford Board of Commissioners. Congratulations. I'll get in here. Sorry, Joe. Your family?
It is.
Okay, why don't you come up? Come on over, get a picture. Nice to meet you. What's your name?
Good day.
Maggie? Gracie, nice to meet you. What's your name? Nice to meet you.
Laurie, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Let's get a picture with your family.
In there, Chief.
Chief.
Leave the politicians out of it.
Well, you know. All right, now you want a picture by yourself? Go ahead. One more, go ahead.
In the spirit of Police Week, we'd like to recognize two of our officers who aren't here tonight, James Brawley and also Hector Villanueva. This week, they were the first two officers that, from our department that did the Uni bike tour from Philadelphia all the way down to DC. They both made it down there safely. Hector is still down there participating in some of the celebrations in memorial to the officers who gave their lives, and also James Brawley did come back today to work, but they made it back safely. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Chief. For those that don't know, tomorrow the flag flies at half-staff for Peace Officers Day. Appreciate it. What are we doing?
You put a finger on the floor.
Give the room a moment. Our next item is any committee updates. Commissioners have a committee update? Township Auditor? Podium is all yours, sir.
I've reviewed the expenses and disbursements before this meeting, and all my questions were satisfactorily answered regarding the expenditures. There were no, everything looked good. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Discrepancies, yes.
Discrepancies, yeah.
Next item is a citizens forum. Our registered speakers are Mr. David Tinch tonight. Is he here? Come on, sir.
Can I face you guys? Or,
You
prefer I
face the
face-
audience. I mean, it's either way. We can turn it around.
I could turn it around if
yeah,
you
or I
want.
can just flip the mic a little bit, but that's all.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gentili. Commissioners, Reverend, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time tonight. My name is Dave Tinch. I reside in Newtown Square. I'm the president of the board of the Haverford Reserve Dog Park. I also chair the Rules Committee and the Facilities Committee. I'm here tonight primarily just to say thank you for supporting green space in the township, and just to give you a little bit of feedback as to what's been happening through the years in the park, and to pass along a lot of the things that we continuously hear from residents in the park that I don't think ever gets back to you. It's certainly a treasure, and we hear it all the time, and I wanted you to hear it as well. Tim Denny and I were meeting a couple weeks ago to talk about some park business, and I said I have to believe that given the popularity of the park, that it's one of the busiest parks in the township, and he said without a doubt the stadium and the dog park are the two most frequently visited parks in the township. The dog park will have people in it 52 weeks a year, sometimes even rain, and definitely when there's snow. So, the park has always been active, had active volunteers who commit hundreds of hours a year to its care. But noting increases in attendance and popularity throughout the years, the Board of Directors was formed in 2014 for the purpose of better fundraising and planning and executing our goals. Our mission is most likely very similar to yours as commissioners. We see ourselves as stewards of the park, working to maintain and improve the gift that we've been given. We also work hard to make sure the park is a safe and enjoyable place for all who attend. A number of improvements have been made to the park since 2010, which include bringing water into the site, something we did as a cost-sharing project with the township. We installed a commemorative brick sidewalk where pets and others can be recognized for their contributions to we've installed permanent seating near the entrance to accommodate for seniors waiting for transport vehicles, and we've placed signage and landscaping at the entrance. We partnered a few years ago with Lowe's to build a shade and seating pavilion within the park. We also partnered with Delaware County Technical School to secure a storage shed for the facility. On more than one occasion, we've worked with Eagle Scout candidates to create agility equipment and signboards for inside of the park. We've partnered with State Senator Leach to create community education and adoption events for pets. In 2016, board member Gene Montgomery researched the possibility of adding web cameras to the park, meeting with numerous vendors. Unfortunately, we hit some technological roadblocks, and we've had to table that, but we hope to revisit it in the future, perhaps with your assistance. We think it would be great for people to be able to see what's going on at the park, who's there, if their friends are there, what the weather conditions are at the park. But also we know that in light of the break-ins that we've had over the years, that it would be a resource for the police department as well. We're your eyes and your ears, fixing what we can, when we can, alerting you to issues that we can address, such as tree limbs that need to be taken down, fence issues, or more recently, we noticed that people who were visiting the park in wheelchairs were having difficulty navigating the park. We brought that to Tim Denny's attention, and he has now come up with a plan that'll be implemented starting next week to make the park more accessible to people visiting in wheelchairs. As you heard from board member Nina Weber last month, we'll again be hosting a summer education series where we'll bring in trainers, animal behavioral therapists, doctors. I think Owen will come in and speak about the law, but we publicize this and we make it available to people to hopefully become more responsible pet owners and citizens. The park is a special place, and at first glance you might think it's just people standing around while their dogs run around, but if you've ever been to Italy or Germany or France, and you've seen the town square and how people come out at night, and you probably, as I have, been kind of jealous of that or envious of it. That's kind of what happens at the dog park. It is our plaza, town square. People gather at night, in the afternoons, in the mornings, and they talk, and they laugh, and they share, and they may talk about their families or about sports or about politics. But it's a place that people come to for refuge, for support, to get support, to give support. It's quite a unique place, and you know, a couple examples of what I have seen happen at the park through the years are 20-year-old young men speaking to 70-year-old grandmothers about 60s muscle cars. I've seen families come to the park to educate their children about dogs and certain dog breeds, you know, in preparation of getting a dog. And I've seen an incredible man by the name of Rami stand before a group of people and share the tenets of his faith as a Sikh. That, you know, his religion is based on inclusion and compassion and equality. And, you know, if it weren't for the dogs barking in the background, you could have heard a pin drop when he said, "I would give up my life for anybody in this park at this very minute." The park is truly a special place. And we know that, you know, parks give to the communities that they're in, but they also draw people in from outside. Whether it's Fairmount Park or Valley Forge Park or the Haverford Reserve Dog Park, we know that people are coming from the outside to visit this park. And when they do, they fill their tank with gas, they shop for groceries or take out food on the way home, or maybe they'll ask for a referral for an electrician or a plumber or you know, or a dentist. The benefit goes both ways, and one of the best examples, and I'm just about done, one of the best examples I have of the way that this park benefits the community and the community benefits the park is that a couple of years ago I was speaking to a young couple who was visiting the park for maybe their second or third time, and they told me that they just purchased a house, and that they had whittled down their decision to 2 houses. And I said, "And how did you decide on the house that you chose?" And they said, "We chose the house that was closest to the dog park," because for them, the houses were kind of equal. The house that was closest to the dog park was in the township, and the house that wasn't was not in the township. So the dog park, you know, swung them to the township. And I love the story. It's a great story. Again, I want to thank you. I want to thank you on behalf of the board. I want to thank you on behalf of all of the residents and non-residents who enjoy this resource that you've made available, whether you were on the design and planning stage or sitting here now continuing to support Tim. I want to say thank you, and I want to encourage you to continue to support Tim and the work that he's doing and the green space in the township. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our second scheduled speaker is Irene Coffey. The federal school update and an announcement on the Heritage Festival.
Good evening. Irene Coffey, 1437 Maryland Avenue, obviously in Havertown. And I'm here tonight as the president of the Haverford Township Historical Society. And the good news, gentlemen, is that tonight I'm not going to ask you for money. And I know I've done that many times in the past, but I've got a positive announcement tonight. We've actually managed to save the township some money. The federal school was beginning to crumble on one side. The stones were literally falling out of the building. And last year at the Heritage Festival, we asked for donations from the attendees to help us raise the money that we needed to repair the federal school, and we were able to raise $2,700. The cost to repair the falling out stones at the federal school was $4,500. The Haverford Township Historical Society contributed the remaining $1,800, and that job was done in March. And not only did the historic mason replace the stones that were falling out, but he also made repairs to other areas where the mortar was beginning to fall out. So that's positive. The township has been saved $4,500. I want you all to note this. I can come and not ask for money. Don't guarantee anything for the next meeting, but that's this meeting. The other thing I want to talk to you about tonight is the Heritage Festival that's coming up. That's Sunday, the 3rd of June, from 11 to 4. It's on Carracung Drive. It's our 12th annual Heritage Festival, and it is, in a way, the Historical Society's gift to the township. We raise the money for it. We, with the help of many volunteers, do the work on it, and it's come to be a very popular event in the township. And it's going to include many of the things that we've had in the past. There will be good food, good music, lots of local artisans. There will be historic reenactors. You will, of course, be able to see Nider Hall and the Lawrence Cabin. We're this year going to have alpacas there. We're also going to have a woman who's going to be demonstrating falconry, which should be a little bit interesting and different. We've got a blacksmith, as always. We've got a beer brewer. We've got the beer tent. So this is your invitation. Please come. Enjoy the Heritage Festival. If you'd like to volunteer, we have plenty of opportunities to do that. We even had one of your members as a docent at Nider Hall last year, and he seemed to thoroughly enjoy his experience. So to one and all commissioners and people who are listening at home, please come and enjoy the Heritage Festival. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our third registered speaker is Christine Barnes. Is she here?
Hi. My name is Chris Barnes, and I live at 18 West Wilmot Avenue in the 2nd Ward. And this is my first time talking at a township commissioners meeting, let alone my first time at one, let alone talking. So I'm here because word on the street is that there is a grant for a pedestrian bridge across Manoa Road, and I'm here to just really tout my support and my neighbor's support for that bridge. And I will just tell you a little bit about why. I guess it was about a year and a half ago, I came to Mario and I said, Mario, my daughter Jane, who is currently a junior at Haverford High School, spending half of her day in the life skills program and half of her day in regular education being included, is getting towards transition age. She has an intellectual disability. And I am trying to help her be able to access her community in a lifelong way. And the intersection at Darby and Manoa is a huge barrier. It's just a really unsafe intersection. People aren't really looking if they're turning right. The walk signal doesn't stay on very long, and you probably are aware that that's a pretty dangerous intersection. So I came to Mario and said, is there any way we can get those stop signals to stay all stopped and give people time to cross the street? And he was looking into that, and then he said, well, maybe there's pedestrian bridge thing might be coming down the pike. And so when I heard that it is down here, where we're here, I can't tell you enough about what that will do for my daughter's access to the YMCA, the library, the Wawa, potential job sites here in our community for the rest of her life. She's not, that's our vision for her. But in addition, not just for making a difference in her life, my history here, I grew up on Kenmore Road over by Jim McGarity. I didn't grow up there. I raised my family there. I have 4 kids. They're all teenagers now, but at the time...
We miss you. We miss you.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. When they were little, I would take the first 3 of them all in a wagon to different parks that we could go to, up at Brookline, over at Chatham, and even the Grange. And it was an easy day. Just get in the wagon, walk, get to the park, awesome. Then when we had our 4th son, we moved over to West Wilmot Avenue. And it's a different story over there. You're really kind of landlocked over in that section of Havertown. There's no parks over there without crossing that big intersection, and then also walking along some pretty busy roads to get to the parks. So I know my kids are older, and I have a ton of kids on our block right now. I think we have 8 little kids, and a block over there's a ton of little kids. And when I was talking to neighbors about this pedestrian bridge, they also were like, oh wow, that'll be awesome. We'll be able to access Bailey Park is what they're most excited about. And I think it's awesome. I think getting to the YMCA for all that section of Havertown will be a breeze. Kids can get on their bikes and, you know, we're not worried parents about them. So I just wanted to say thank you for all that you guys do to make this such a great community to raise kids in, and I'm really excited about this bridge. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much.
I just may add a second to what Christine said. It's not just for Christine. There are hundreds of children in that area who are landlocked, who can't get to a playground. They can't get to Bailey Park, they can't get to Lanark Park without crossing a major road. So this would be a big, big thing for them, for those kids over there.
Our next portion is any speaker that wants to speak on our open forum on an agenda item. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address the board on an agenda item? Dr. Levin?
Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, and those who are watching this program, I entitled this Moving Forward, and I thought I introduced it as a topic for the Citizens Forum. During the past few weeks, I too have been looking at the proposed bridge and its connection to other places in the township, including Wards 2 and Ward 7.
Doctor, is this on an agenda item, or?
Yes, it's the same thing that this person was talking about before.
Speaking in the open forum as a registered speaker, she can speak on any topic. The open forum is for the items that we're going to vote on this evening.
I see.
If that's, I mean, I'll give you another minute. Go ahead, real quick.
Okay, this is not going to take very long. The bridge was referred to, and the bridge was a topic of my attention also, because it took up such a significant part of the budget for the completion of the trail, Quincy Trail, through Haverford, from Ward 7 to Ward 2. The only thing I heard about Ward 7 and this bridge was that I hope that it's high enough to not to fall down. Well, I started looking at the documents that I saw, and yes, that bridge does need to be pretty high. You're talking of at least 13 feet, maybe even a little bit higher because of the grade of the road. That bridge takes up 55% of the budget for this project, which is $1.5 million. And of that $1.5 million, about $639,000 is devoted solely to restoration of the site and the construction of the bridge and the design and bidding for the bridge. So a limited amount goes into the trail. Again, it's 55%. The total construction cost of the bridge is, and presumably the network of trails that has to be completed, perhaps it's less than a mile, is $1,162,000. It's not clear to me who takes control of this bridge afterwards. I know that PennDOT has an interest in this. I spoke to them as I spoke to people in the township, including the police department. And I wondered whether the township retains operation and maintenance of that structure and how much of it is involved. In addition, I don't find any reference to something that has come in newly in the past few years, and that are rapid pedestrian lights, which are lights that will generate a series of signals on the street, which will allow on-grade crossing. The cost of those to put in instead of a bridge would be significantly less.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. I've given you your time on a non-agenda item, but we,
I have one more point.
quickly, please.
I have one more point to bring up. Placing a bridge does not necessarily eliminate the possibility that you're going to need a road connection at grade. Bridges freeze in the winter, and we're still getting frozen winters, which means that the bridge could be put out of commission for a period of time. So I'm suggesting that some bridge closures could occur. Who owns the bridge and who has the maintenance for this structure?
Okay, we'll get those questions answered for you. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Doctor.
Pass it.
Any other,
Those mics don't work.
any other residents would like to address the board?
Would
There being none, I'll,
Come on.
thank you, Mr. Tinch, for. Yes, if you want to speak on an agenda item, you're welcome to do that.
My name's Julie Houston. I live at 1002 Crest Road. My house was one of the homes that was burglarized the night before Super Bowl Sunday. And I think potentially it could have been burglarized due to the fact that we live so close to Penfield Station. I'm about a quarter mile to a half mile on Crest and Powder Mill. So we get parking cars up and down the hill of Crest Road nonstop for the last 12 years. I have people meandering up and down, smoking cigarettes, morning after morning. I don't know who the cars are of neighbors, who the cars are of potential burglars. There's no way for us to really detect family members or not. So I'm here tonight to represent Crest Road and hoping that we all agree that we could have parking stickers on the cars from 8 to 11 a.m., which would prohibit people trying to get to 69th Street and hopefully stop burglaries in Penwyn. Do you see the connection? Daniel, you rolled your eyes. It's a little offensive. It's tough for me at being a victim of the robbery, and it's taken months and months and months for Lower Merion to get our things back. And so if I could have a little more safety on my streets, I think that's just really important, and I'd like for you guys to consider it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bill, could we have Rich Kerr, who can speak on Haverford Trails? Can we give him a couple of minutes?
If he wants to speak in the open forum, all he has to do is raise his hand.
Would you like to? Yeah, there he is.
Are we on an agenda item, or are we?
It's about the trail.
Okay.
It's about the bridge going over.
Well, why don't we do that under new business? Let's get through, let me answer the comments of the people that took the time to register, and then go through the agenda items, and then we'll go through, we'll get to that. Maybe I'll ask him to speak when we get to that item. Mr. Tinch, thank you for the comments on the dog park. We will try and provide our utmost support to Mr. Denny and the Recreation Department and our Public Works Department if there are tree limbs that need to be removed, and if they're taken care of, we'll make sure that's done. Thank you. And Irene, thank you for speaking and not asking for money, but that's just a positive. It's always a pleasure to have you here representing the Historical Society and the good work that you do down there, so we're glad there. And again, the Heritage Festival is June the 3rd, and as many of us as possible, I'm sure we'll endeavor to attend there this year. And Ms. Barnes, we're talking about the bridge, and on the permit parking, I know you're paying on the permit parking. I have a daughter with 3 grandchildren that live on Penfield. Her street is as close to the train station as you can get, and they have the same rudeness that goes on and the other things there. And I've witnessed it firsthand with trying to pick up my grandchildren, take them to their babysitter, and couldn't get in the driveway because it was blocked by a commuter. So, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised or pleased this evening on the vote, I suspect. On the bridge, we have a $1.1 million grant to the township to cover the cost of that. Bridge closures, I don't know if we're really concerned. It's not it's a pedestrian bridge, not a traffic bridge. It's for pedestrian use only. So if it's closed, we can monitor that. There will be safeguards for drainage and freezing. It's not a vehicular bridge, Doctor, so we're not going to have to close it for traffic. It's not there's no at-ground crossing at that location. This is a middle-of-the-block crossing, so there's no need to put an at-grade crossing at that point. We would expect people to walk up to the corner at Manoa and Darby. I think we should look at with the state. If I use that intersection a lot myself, and I think the suggestion that someone made about an all-stop crossing, because there's left turns and right turns, there's arrows, there's time of day restrictions, there's right turn on red after 4 p.m. There's, people use the side lane, which is, I view as a shoulder as a bicyclist, but it's used as a turning traffic lane, even though it has a solid line. So it is a confusing intersection, so it probably needs to be looked at from a safety point of view as well. So we will do that. The police and the township will take a look at that as well. Again, I think Mr. Oliva brought that up last year. If you can get a ticket by using that lane, I guess, right? It's technically not a traffic lane, although it's become one. So, but we need to probably restrict the right turn on red there at any time, because it is a high traffic area with the stadium, the kids going to the ball field, especially this time of year, and the Wawa brings a lot of foot traffic as well from both sides. So we need to look at that with the state and get a traffic study for there probably. If there's any specific questions you want to come up and address about the bridge, do we not answer any questions? If you think there's more information we need to put to the public, then by all means, yeah. If you.
Yes, just a few points, and I'm glad you pointed out the issues with the intersection. First of all, it's a grant. You've received the grant. The grant was reviewed by a regional and a state committee both. They both saw value in it and awarded it money in a tightly contested grant program. Secondly, the Rapid Red Flashing Beacon, or RRFB, was in jeopardy just a few months ago because it's under the terms of a patent. And it was clear that they might have to be eliminated or no new ones built throughout the U.S. That patent was recently bought by a company and turned into the public domain so that they can continue. But PennDOT has little if no experience with RRFBs, flashing red rectangular beacons, or hawks, which are another mid-block pedestrian treatment. I think you'll be hard-pressed to get PennDOT to approve any mid-block crossing, especially one that's downhill on 3 of the 4 approaches. And I think your engineer can speak to that as well, to you. Third point is that bottom of the hill there is also the Sally exit for the police. So should the SWAT vehicle or other police vehicles need to exit in a hurry, they will be coming out right there. So that is another danger. And I think if you look at it overall, the trail is a circuit trail. It's one of the major regional trails in a 700 or 800 mile network. It has to meet certain standards. Minimizing pedestrian conflict with vehicles is one of those. The last point is that, I got the last point at this point. I can't remember it now. Okay, I'll leave it at that. But there are a number of reasons why it should be what it is and have the bridge.
Thank you very much for clarifying that.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Mario. Next item on our agenda is the approval of minutes.
Chairman?
Mr. D'Amelio.
Make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 9th, 2018.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Oliva. Any comments, additions, deletions, or corrections? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes?
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Dr. Hart?
Yes.
And Mr. Wexler?
Good work. Good work.
Next item is the approval of warrants.
Mr. President, motion to approve the following warrant, number 5, 2018, totaling $4,801,780.32. General and sewer fund payroll for April 5th, 2018, in the amount of $710,430.95. General and sewer fund payroll for April 19th, 2018, in the amount of $670,483.38. General and sewer fund payroll for May 3rd, 2018, in the amount of $624,710.93. General fund disbursements, number 5, 2018, in the amount of $1,878,876.33. Sewer fund disbursements, number 5, 2018, in the amount of $497,414.55. Community Development Block Grant Fund disbursement, number 5, 2018, in the amount of $78,160.88. Capital Projects Funds Disbursement Number 5, 2018, in the amount of $325,859.86. PA Office of UC Benefits, AC Payments, first quarter 2018, in the amount of $8,581.50. Credit card statement ending April 27, 2018, in the amount of $7,261.94.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions?
Could I add, in honor of Mr. Holmes' absence, that our township auditor has reviewed these disbursements and has found no irregularities?
Well, thank you, Larry.
He didn't find any discrepancies either.
Discrepancies. Thank you.
Please call the roll.
Emilio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
And Mr. Wexler.
Yes. Item number 8, ordinance P19, 2017. Mr. Siegel.
Oh, okay. Motion to adopt the second reading of ordinance P19, 2017, further amending and supplementing ordinance number 1960, as amended and known as the general laws of the Township of Haverford, at Chapter 180, wastewater treatment, by adding the City of Philadelphia Water Department sewer and wastewater control regulations by reference.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. This is Mr. Oliva seconded. Any questions?
Well, can we just re-educate everyone what this is? Quickly.
Dave?
We'll have our engineer.
Dave?
If the board remembers, our wastewater flows go to two places, Delcora and their wastewater treatment plant in Chester, and the City of Philadelphia and their wastewater treatment plant in Southwest Philadelphia. We adopted, maybe a decade ago, what are called pre-treatment requirements for Delcora, which really essentially is what you're allowed to discharge into the sanitary sewer system. We're now adopting similar, if almost identical regulations for the remainder of the township that drains to Cobb's Creek. So it really affects discharges from mostly industrial locations into the sanitary sewer system. It regulates them.
Specifically Cobb's Creek, is it?
Both, it's both now. Well, yes, I'm sorry. Now this amendment is specifically for the Cobb's Creek drainage, what we call the Cobb's Creek drainage basin, which is about 2/3 of our township.
Any other questions? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes. Item number 9, ordinance P8, 2018.
Mr. President?
Mr. Siegel.
Motion to adopt the second reading of ordinance number P8, 2018, amending and supplementing the general laws of the Township of Haverford, Chapter 182, zoning, by adding certain new use definitions in Section 182-106.b, and further by adding subsection 182-405.b3I, establishing and regulating the sale of consumer fireworks in the C4 Highway Commercial Zoning District.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Again, this is second reading. Any questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
I or a J?
I couldn't tell with my eyes.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
It was a J, I believe.
J. Okay.
Item 10, ordinance P9, 2018.
Motion to adopt the second reading of ordinance P9, 2018, further supplementing Chapter 30, pensions and employee benefits, and establishing subsection 30-33G.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Oliva. Any questions on this? Again, it's a second reading. No clarification required. Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler. Yes.
Item number 11, ordinance P10, 2018.
Mr. President, ordinance number P10, 2018, motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance number P10, 2018, authorizing the installation of traffic restrictions on the following highways: Sticker parking only, Crest Road, both sides, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., Monday through Friday. Special purposes parking zones in front of 2545 Rosemont Avenue, Ardmore, PA. Parking of all vehicles prohibited at all times on Columbus Avenue, south side, 60 feet east from the southwest corner by 101 Columbus Avenue.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Any questions?
Mr. President?
Mr. Siegel.
I want to address the one part of this ordinance. Members of this board know that for years I have felt that it is inappropriate for us to do essentially parking zoning in an effort to address the problems that we have throughout this township near any of the train stations. We continue to fail to take any action to have a township-wide set of restrictions, and I find that sort of a failing of this board, and I suggest again that we do it. I regret that I rolled my eyes, but I do not regret why I did that. I have served on this board for 10 years, and not once in 10 years have I heard a police report say that commuter parking has any relationship whatsoever to any type of criminal activity. And as a result, I find that offensive. I can also tell you that numerous residents from my ward who do not have the Route 100 park in those areas. And while, yes, the police need to enforce parking restrictions, I don't believe that there is a correlation between the parking restrictions and the need for parking regulations and the unfortunate, the terrible incident that you suffered with a robbery. As a result, I urge this board to take further action to come up with or to devise a township-wide strategy for dealing with this. It comes up again and again, and while I support the special purpose zones and parking prohibited, I can no longer vote to support any type of parking by zoning related to the Route 100 or any other public transit.
Thank you, Mr. Siegel. No, we're not open for comment from the public at this time. Mr. Holmes.
Mr. President, I was at Crest Road. Is that the one we discussed?
Yes.
2 work sessions ago?
Yes, we discussed it last month. And just to follow up, I totally agree with Mr. Siegel that we need to address it as a board. We're just moving this to another block, but we do need to give relief to Crest Road is too narrow to handle the parking. But it's been a long-standing problem. We do need to have parking for the commuters. It's one of the reasons people move to Haverford Town, to be close to the 100, and we need to address the issue on a township-wide basis.
Thank you, Dr. Hart. Any other comments? Mr. Holmes?
Okay, I'll take this one. So remind me, so sticker parking, I'm not trying to be ignorant here. Sticker parking, we limit to the specific, the people who live on that street. And as I understand, one of Mr. Siegel's concerns, and it's one of my concerns as well, is that people from Haverford Township, people from our own township are prohibited now from parking in those areas, driving from an area that doesn't have any close station for any of our mass transit facilities, and they can't park there either. So I guess my question, I'm not sure we've ever done this, but can we do sticker parking in these commuter areas and make it Haverford only? I mean, there is a certain amount of comfort to the notion that it is local people that are blocking you out of your yard as opposed to people from other counties or other townships or other areas. And I wish we would move to address this issue on a global basis instead of block by block like we are. But in the meanwhile, is there a potential compromise? Because this is just going to get stickier and stickier each time we do this for every other city, for every other neighborhood that is just getting farther and farther out, one more block. It's just a test of how far people are willing to walk to get to a train.
should we make stickers for the whole township as opposed to just for the people who live on that block? To me, it is something that we should consider as a compromise in between the time that we handle this globally and what we're doing now, which isn't a solution at all.
Chief, do you want to address? I saw you reach for your microphone there.
I hate to jump into this, but I understand the issues on both parts. I live there at P&W Station also, and it is a problem when you live there. But I also understand the commuters, they have no place to park. Commissioner Holmes, your suggestion to make a township-wide would be a nightmare for us to regulate that and issue those parking permits. We have a difficult time now just handing out and distributing what we're required to do by ordinance. So it would be very difficult to do that. I think, Mr. Gentile, we had some conversation not too long ago with some suggestions for additional parking in that area. Am I correct? So, I mean, I know there has been discussions to help that, alleviate that, so.
When SEPTA was here last week, that was a major point that we addressed with them, is their improvements to the Route 100 line, the extension to King of Prussia. We said that they were going to be killing us. Unless they can increase the parking here, they're going to create a bigger draw to the Route 100 with westbound traffic. So that, will almost double the amount of parking that we're going to require, because a lot of people work out in the King of Prussia area, and they're going to open up those business parks to Route 100. So we are addressing that. Mr. Gentili's been asked to look at and work with SEPTA on the lot, and Dr. Hart is going to be talking to the residents down there about that open lot off of Caricon to increase that to see if we can get another 30 or 40 spots there as well. But I agree. I mean, this is a true burden to the residents. So I think the ordinance here is for residential stickers of that block is what we're talking about. So just so that we're clear.
Mr. President. Chief, I understand the problem about administering, I guess giving out the township-wide residential parking sticker, except the question is the only people who are going to want them are the people from the township currently who drive from one part of the township to the other. For instance, I'm not going to want one.
Knowing the commission, knowing the residents of Haverford Township, if there's a parking permit, everybody will want one. It's just because, just in case I want to park here someday, I need one. And I understand somebody would think about that. Commissioner, it is a problem. We all know it's a problem. It's just, the early bird gets the worm when you get down to the P&W stations. The people get there early, get the parking spaces. But they're reaching out further and further in the neighborhoods, which cause problems for the fire trucks also. Commissioner Hart and I spoke about that. Some of those streets down there trying to get through with the fire trucks.
Well, but hang on. If you can't get through with the fire, if people are parking illegally, they're parking illegally, whether they have a permit or not. So, we can't, if parking's allowed on two sides of the street, 24 hours a day, we can't be mad that during the day it's twice a day.
It's an additional problem we have to discuss.
Right. We either take out that parking because it's a problem, or we allow the parking because it isn't a problem. But I don't see a crazy rush for people to try to get residential parking. I don't want to park I don't have any need to park in any of those places. Tens of thousands of our residents don't have need to park there, but there are residents of this township who will be excluded from these neighborhoods where they can try to park doing the right thing by taking mass transit into work or doing whatever they do. And if it's now to go west, Bill, as you described, this is still something we want to encourage from not just the highest levels of government, but even, we've spent hours and hours of this meeting talking about our environmental friendliness and our environmental foresight and all the things we're going to do as a township and the things we're capable of doing in order to make, to make an impact on the environment. And the single best thing we can do for the environment is encourage mass transportation. Each time we make it harder and harder for people to commute, we are cutting back on our efforts to do that.
Commissioner, whatever you decide to do in the future, if parking permits for the township, obviously, if that's an ordinance, we absolutely will take care of it.
You have something to say?
Sure. Just if you have that experience, if any other township has done that, and if we have empirical data, as opposed to just, look, it's not a misinformed opinion, it's your professional opinion as to what will happen, but I am curious as to whether it has happened.
I think what we're discussing tonight is a quality of life issue for the people that live on that street. They can't park there, they have restricted driveways, they're small driveways. Chief, I know you live over that, in that area as well, and it is, I can tell you from personal experience with my family, that it does affect the quality of life. You can't get in and out of your driveways during the day when you're running your kids to school, trying to get to a babysitter, trying to go grocery shopping. You literally can't back out of your driveway because they park right behind your driveway, both sides. And they've given you just the width of a car to get out of your driveway. So it's a quality of life thing. It's a frustrating point for the residents, I know, and I know Dr. Hart's been through this in that area. I also agree with Mr. Siegel. I think we need to take a harder look at space and really put the pressure on township resources that we can find for additional parking, as well as pressure to SEPTA to jointly go forward, because even though there are improvements for the westbound traffic, it's not going to happen for the next 7 to 10 years, so we have time to do that. But we've got a parking issue now that, with their future plans, is only going to get much, much worse. So,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Just a suggestion, maybe the police committee should get together with the police and discuss this matter. Would that be okay? And we could address it maybe in the next commissioners meeting?
Sure. We can talk about it in the next work session.
No. I don't know if.
We could discuss it in the next work session.
Like, I mean, after we
Right, after
meet,
the-
okay.
Yeah. You're going to meet and then bring it to the work
Correct.
session, I assume.
Correct. So the police committee
Well,
chief
committee
will get
report.
together with you and we'll discuss it. I mean, I think, I tend to agree with the chief. I have concerns about giving everyone a sticker, but we'll talk about it and
Okay.
see what the ramifications of that are.
Mr. McCluskey?
I just wanted to add, I mean, I know it's not up here, but I think trying to sticker the entirety of Havertown would lead to some, fairly unintended consequences, just dealing with parking issues that we're having in the third ward right now in terms of businesses and local streets. That I think it would be something that we would have to examine pretty closely before considering such a step.
To be clear, I'm not suggesting we sticker all of Havertown. I'm suggesting that any place around it, that every place that now is residential parking only, or anytime we consider residential parking only, which by definition is only near the library, near the high school, and near the mass transit places that we have. It's near the library because it's next to the high school. That any kind of restricted sticker parking in whatever location is created is Haverford-wide. I'm not talking about stickering Haverford Township. We can't do that, and I wouldn't suggest we can. We can justify stickering in circumstances of kids driving to the high school and neighborhoods with that and dealing with SEPTA, but the compromise is that everybody in Haverford ought to be able to park there.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's not on the table, but I think I would have some pretty significant questions, even if we were going to do that around those areas.
You're kind of opening up anybody that thinks they're going to commute is going to go get a sticker.
Yeah.
I would ask prior to the police committee meeting with the police chief that any of you email us any concerns. You email me, since I'm the chairman of the police committee, email me your concerns or suggestions, and we'll certainly bring them up with the chief at that time.
In the meantime, we'll also have the township manager, and we'll address with SEPTA as we
Oh,
started to address
absolutely.
with them last
Absolutely,
week.
yes.
Looking for more space anyway. Okay, thank you. Any other comments before we vote? Please call it roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
No.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Dr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
No.
And Mr. Wexler? Yes.
Item number 12, Resolution 2092-2018.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. D'Amelio.
Make a motion to adopt Resolution 2092, 2018, authorizing the township manager to submit a 2019 DUI grant application.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. McGarity. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Dr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes. Item 13, Contract Award, Chatham Park School.
Mr. President, make a motion to approve a contract award for Chatham Park School for the water retention basin The motion is to award the Chatham Park School water retention basin contract to Trio Siteworks Media PA in the amount of $522,083.75, submitting the lowest responsible bid contingent upon their execution of the contract and supply of the required bonds and insurance.
Second.
This is to try to help further alleviate the flooding in the lower part of the 8th Ward.
Thank you. Motion made, seconded by Mr. McGarity. Any other questions? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Dr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
And Mr. Wexler.
Yes. Item 14 is a continuation of the citizens' forum for non-agenda items. This is where anyone can speak on anything that was not on the agenda. Would anybody like to approach the board and speak? Dr. Levin.
Well, first of all, Mr. Wexler, I signed up for a citizens forum this month with Mr. Gentili. He may not recall, but it was in a memorandum to him, and we had been discussing the Pensy Trails.
Okay, if that's the case, I apologize. It was not on my list of speakers, though.
You're-
So I apologize. So go ahead.
Okay. Second, concerning the statement you made that there is no intersection between the bridge location, presumed bridge location, and Darby Road. Columbia Avenue is a signed avenue. I discussed it with someone in the police department. He thought that this was an intersection, and I noticed that it not only has the characteristics of an intersection, meaning the slip-free pad, but it has one of those on the other side of the road, too. So that is an intersection. Third, there is no particular excuse for not putting in rapid flashing lights, considering that it would be an immediate necessity in the event the bridge is out of order and cannot be crossed that way, and you cannot count on everyone to know that it has been closed. So I think that this should be considered again, because the cost of doing so is not excessive. It is not a light that is flashing all the time. Additionally, crossing guards are available for $37 a day, and out of the police department, it's approximately $64 a day in the event that someone decides to be placed there. I'd like that to be under consideration in connection with that bridge structure, 70 feet long, 13 feet high, 70 feet long, 13 feet high, taking up 10 feet of road, and a right-of-way is only 30 feet, probably at the most, throughout the length, 10 feet of which is already then occupied by Macadam Road. Now, the covering on the bridge has got to be considered too, because of the slip characteristics that are built into precast concrete. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Is there any other resident that would like to address the board? Sir, come on up. Please state your name and your address.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm Jeff Gregory at 333 Greenbrier Lane. I live in Steve's district. I wanted to talk about the Westgate Hills Trail, if you're not familiar with it. So me and a bunch of residents, I'm representing Chip Gallagher, who sits on our he's the president of our board. We've had about 3 or 4 community events where we've literally cleaned up 30 years of junk. I echo the sentiment before about cleaning up the environment. Well, we've had 3 events thus far, cleaning up 30 years of junk. We had a professional agricultural guy come in and kind of help us plan out the trail itself. And we're looking for township funding to help us build out. It's about a 1/4 mile trail. It will connect to the Murray Place Trail. And that's what we've been doing for, the last, I think, it's been in plan really for a year from our side, but we really just started the community activism around. We've had 3 events thus far. Our next one's scheduled in a few weeks. And what we'd like to do is, we'd really like, once we have it all outlined, I mean, Steve's been there a couple times. Once we have it all connected, we'd like it to look like the Merry Place Trail, where it's tarred and everything. But there's some considerations there because it's not totally flat like Murray Place. There's some areas where it's pretty steep, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a great place for residents to, conveniently walk from, our residence to Barnaby's without, going. A lot of people run that, and they run on Westchester Pike, where they ride their bikes and they're on Westchester Pike. This will have this will be at least another 4 miles, 5 miles combined when you link it with the Merry Place Trail. So, anything else I'm missing, Steve? From your
No, I
standpoint?
mean, it's amazing that trail that we created with, your help and the Civic Association's help. But it's actually right in the middle of the woods. It's beautiful. We saw many different species of birds and whatnot. So my thanks to the township for at least helping out with getting rid of all the trash that we pulled out of there, because there was a ton of trash.
Yeah.
And I think there's still more there that we need.
I mean, there's still a
get
lot
out.
of work to be done to
Lot of
complete
work.
it, but we feel like we can complete it, by the end of June.
He was involved there, that gentleman right there, helped us.
Yeah,
Rich,
I mean, and again,
Rich.
as community events go, when we posted it on Facebook, we had almost like 40, 50 people each time. People that we didn't really know personally. It was a great event. So it definitely energized the community, and they're behind it. So, okay, thank you.
Appreciate you updating
Thanks,
us on
Jeff.
that. Anyone else would like to address the board? Go ahead, if you can come up. Go on, into the microphone. Yeah.
Siegel, to you. The reason I brought up my safety was because the chief was actually at my house 2 days after the robbery, and they had let me know that my house was being cased by these 2 men that are now behind bars for weeks. They also let me know that the night of the burglary, that their car was directly on Crest Road. It was a white Dodge car. And not one neighbor, and all of my neighbors were home, this happened at 7 o'clock at night on a Saturday night, recognized the car, thought anything suspicious, because none of us even barely know each other's cars because there's so many damn cars up and down Crest Road. You don't know what your neighbors are even driving these days. Half the neighbors can't park in their driveways themselves, so they're parking on the streets. I share a driveway, so I'm parking on the streets. My family, my friends have to do all that. So it's a mishmash. Like I said, I've been there 12 years. I haven't asked for very much. And this is the one thing that I think between 8 and 11 we can kind of cut down on, and at least the neighbors will get to know whose cars are whose and whose belong there and whose don't. So I just wanted to be really clear, because the chief and I and Lieutenant Laughlin were extremely upset to know that the burglar's car was on my street that night and was casing my house for weeks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying. Any other citizen that would like to address the board? Mr. Anderson.
I just want to say that bridge is an awesome idea, and I'm also not, as somebody who took the 100 for 2 years, walked every single day, and I see the mess that's up there, but I'm also not I'm also somebody who spent 6 years in Philadelphia, and I came out to Haverford to get away from checking the signs, getting all the stickers and checking all the zones. I came out here to get away from that. Now it's kind of creeping its way over here. I'd like to avoid it, but I also get the dilemma where people need their space in front of their house, but people also need to park to get to the train station, because not everybody lives within walking distance.
I think we got the message loud and clear. We're trying to take some appropriate actions to do that. Okay. Anybody else? That concludes the citizens forum. Open it up for new business, item 15. Is there any new business? Mr. Siegel.
I want to bring up a couple related items. We had in my ward last, 2 weeks ago, a relatively heated matter before the zoning board where residents were upset about a special exception that was being requested. They were unable to easily obtain the decision of the zoning board from the township. I conferred with Mr. Byrne and Mr. Gentili, and as a result of that and Mr. Byrne's approval, the township will now be posting the zoning board decisions online, and in fact that decision, so that the parties in interest could also see it, is available online. And I want to just thank Mr. Byrne and Mr. Gentili. I think it'll be really helpful to residents to see those decisions. It is a quasi-judicial board, and the public access policy from the Pennsylvania Supreme Court requires court opinions and decisions to be available for free. So I'm pleased to see it happening here. In that vein, I'm not going to do it tonight, but I will again renew the motions that I made a couple of years ago, and I'll do it as separate motions at our next meeting rather than added as agenda items, to again call for the televising of both the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board meetings. And that's all I have on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Siegel. Any other new business? Okay, other business. Mr. D'Amelio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I promised my daughter Kristen, who's in the health field, but also is an environmentalist and uses many trails. She brought this to my attention about what's going on in Lower Merion and the Stone Lee Estate, which was left to Lower. I know this is Lower Merion, but there is a website for residents to go as well to, I think, sign a petition. John and Chara Haas from Roman Haas and their children donated this land in 2016 to Natural Lands Trust. And it's a wonderful estate. It's a garden, and it opened up, I believe, this past weekend. And now I'm seeing in the news that the Lower Merion School District is trying to shut it down. It's a 42-acre property, and they want to take this property by eminent domain. There was an event there on Sunday, and was well attended. So I would ask anyone who's in favor of open space to please go to that website, and I'll see if I can find it. If I can, I promise you I will have it before the end of the meeting. I think it's pretty important for us to support the residents of Lower Merion that want to maintain that open space in such a beautiful, I haven't been there, but my daughter went there and she said it's incredible. Stone Lee, that's what I said, yeah, Stone Lee. I did say that, didn't I? Yeah. So anyway, I'll get the websites for anyone who wants to go on and sign the petition to keep it open space. Speaking of that, the Westgate Hills Trails, I thank Jeff for coming up. So many community volunteers. I mean, it was incredible how many people showed up to and worked very, very hard. A couple of weeks ago, maybe almost a month ago, when it got hot and humid, we had a few people that almost went down because of the amount of heat. But they worked incredibly hard and quickly to create this. It's right now a rustic trail. So I would think that whatever improvements that we make, I mean, we have to be fair to the township as well and be concerned for costs and whatnot. But we can meet, and if Larry wouldn't mind, at some point, Larry, maybe the Civic can meet with me and you to go over maybe things that we can and cannot do, and try to, even if we plan out a little bit in the future, whatever needs that they have. I mean, there's some grading issues, understanding that, it's it could be severe in some places, but they did their best to try to make it as safe as possible. But there may be some places that we may be able to help. And I don't want to go into maybe what we can do, but if maybe talk to Chip and maybe we could set up a meeting with the township. And again, I want to thank everyone that was involved, Rich, for you and everyone that showed up. Oh, thank you. I have the website for Stone Lee. It's www.savestoneleigh.org. Spell it out. STONELEIGH.org. Thank you, whoever did this. I appreciate it. Bill, was that you?
Thank you. One other thing, May 23rd, I will be hosting my community meeting at Manoa Fire Company, and that will be around 7 p.m. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Oliva.
All right, I want to thank everybody who came out to the Home and Garden Show. What a wonderful turnout that was. We appreciate everybody who came out. It was a very successful show. We had a lot of people come out, a lot of happy vendors, and it was a good time had by all, and I wanted to thank anybody who volunteered. We had a lot of volunteers there who helped out. It was really a great show. The other thing I wanted to remind everybody that recycling anything with a plug, I get a lot of calls about that. People want to know when they can recycle that. That's May 19th at the community college. You can take anything with a plug. And I have nothing further.
Thank you. Mr. McCluskey.
Briefly, first, I just want to talk about we were scheduled to have with PennDOT a meeting on May 9th. The meeting is going to be rescheduled. It was supposed to be discussing the upcoming construction on Ardmore Avenue Bridge. As many in the 3rd Ward and certainly other parts of Havertown know, it is scheduled to be completed once College Avenue Bridge construction is complete. And the thought process we had was we didn't want PennDOT answering questions with what they thought would happen or what they had planned to happen. So we want to have the meeting as close to start date as possible so that there could be firm details so that when the residents ask questions, hopefully it would be, they'd get better answers from PennDOT, as that's the goal of the question and answer session. So we will reschedule that. We don't have a date yet. I would say two things to just highlight of questions that I've gotten from many in the 3rd Ward. The Ardmore Avenue train station will remain open throughout construction. There'll be a temporary bridge, pedestrian bridge put up so that residents from both sides of Haverford Avenue can get to both sides of the train station. And second, that construction will not start and the bridge will not be closed until there are wires that are moved. So there's not, hopefully, we'll avoid some of the delays that have plagued the College Avenue Bridge construction. And as I said, as soon as we have that new date, we will provide that for you, and we will have it recorded, as the meeting will probably take place during the summer now, but the meeting will be recorded and it will be posted on the township website and on YouTube for anybody that wants to watch it. But we're hopeful, and the rationale, again, was simply to hopefully provide better quality information coming from PennDOT about the project. A couple updates of events that are coming up before our next meeting. The VFW Post at 338, that's right next to Grassland Park, has an event on Memorial Day. They have a pancake breakfast in the morning, and then they have a ceremony at 1 o'clock, so anybody in that neighborhood who can stop by, or anybody in any part of Havertown that can stop by, they're more than welcome, and the Post does it all through volunteer help. Through the 3rd Ward this Sunday morning, the Chestnut Wall Chase takes place. There's a 1-mile fun run and then a 5K that starts at 8 o'clock. And then, of course, Haverford Township Recreation has their 2018 Summer Trail Running Series, which is on Wednesday nights, the last Wednesday of May, June, and July. So May 30th, June 27th, and 7/25. It's a 5K run through the trails that run behind Haverford Creek. And we had some good crowds last year, and hopefully we'll have bigger crowds this year. And then finally, just a reminder to everyone that no matter who you're going to vote for, what party, what person, please just make sure you vote tomorrow in the primary. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Siegel.
Yeah, well, sort of stole my thunder about the primary, but yes, people need to vote. What's most interesting, though, I think, is the fact that from the Republican governor's race on down to our local races, there are people who, there are contested positions in both parties, and everyone needs to vote because a lot of times the primary is as important, if not more important, than the general election. So please vote, and thank you for anyone who's been interested in all of the different campaigns and candidates. It's almost impossible to follow all of them, but it's good for, it shows people are interested. And then just briefly, I know that Mr. Gentili's the township and the police have been continuing to work on the intersection with the Blue Route, and Mr. Pannoni to assure that that keeps moving ahead, and I just want to thank them. I know we did some more drone film footage of it, et cetera, so it is moving toward further, fruition. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes.
Mr. President, thank you. I do want to commend Mario and the rest of the folks who were involved in the Home and Garden Show. I thought it was really a terrific event and certainly showcased the Community Recreation and Environmental Center for its role and its value for people who want to put on events like that. I have nothing further other than to stress what my colleagues have already stressed about the importance of primary day. And let me make this pitch, if I may, for primaries. A lot of people have become independents over the last few years, in part because they've grown disheartened by their own party's movement either to the left or to the right. And I would ask all of you independents to consider coming back to a party, because it is losing those people in the middle that have made the primaries, unfortunately, sometimes a challenge and a race to get as far to the left or as far to the right as you can. So for all of you folks out there who are considering sitting out the primary because you just vote for the primary, you'd wait for the general, and from the conventional wisdom that it is only the die-hard party members who come out to the primaries, understand that that kind of thinking is partially responsible for the polarization we have now in politics. So I encourage all of you, no matter what your views are, if you're a registered Republican but haven't voted for one in 10 years, if you're a registered Democrat but have found the Republicans more attractive, it's extremely important that your voice be heard tomorrow in the primary, because it's in that process that we can get the best candidates, as opposed to those who just are locked into the strictest ideology. So I encourage all of you to vote for tomorrow. It's as important tomorrow in a year like this when we have so many choices as it is to vote in the general. So I encourage you to go out. I will not pitch for anybody, but if anyone drives by my house, they'll see who I support, if that matters to them. It will be very obvious on the signs on my lawn and by the buttons that I'm wearing tomorrow in front of the polling place. But please, I hope I see everybody in the 6th Ward, and I hope I hear of all my commissioners talking about record turnout tomorrow. So that's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, would like to thank the HPED and Commissioner Oliva for the wonderful job they did in the first Home and Garden Show held in Haverford Township. I think it'll be the first of many to come. And Mario is the type of commissioner, he was there when it opened and he closed it, and putting chairs up and setting up tables and making it happen. So thank you for that, Mario. Also wanted to bring up the College Avenue Bridge and where that stands. Had a conversation with PennDOT last week, and they're still shooting to reopen the bridge. If you go down and take a look at it, it's hard to believe, but they're looking at a reopening of that bridge on a week from tomorrow. I'm not sure they're going to make that, but they'll probably, if they miss it, they'll miss it by a couple days. The thing that they're going to fall short on is when they made the commitment, the second was originally supposed to be completed back in November, and then it was changed to May 22nd, and the commitment that was made by PennDOT was that the whole intersection would be reopened, and now it appears that that won't be the case. The bridge will be reopened, but the third lane, if you're coming southbound, I guess southbound on College Avenue from the college itself, that right turn lane, that intersection was supposed to be complete as well. The whole intersection was supposed to be done with the adaptive traffic signal. So that piece of it will not be done. And in fairness to PennDOT, I think it relates to Verizon making some last-minute decisions which have delayed that intersection being rebuilt. So it looks like that piece of it will not be done until mid to late June. So unfortunately, that's, but the end is in sight. So, and as Commissioner McCluskey said, we'll be hosting a public meeting sometime, I don't know, July or August with Commissioner Siegel and myself. Again, to have a public meeting with the residents to address concerns and questions and that they might have, in hopes that that we don't have a repeat of what we had here with the College Avenue Bridge, which was a 7-month delay, because most of that delay was attributable to the fact the utilities were not moved prior to the bridge closing. So we've been assured that won't happen this time. So we'll see, but the end is in sight, and I'll thank everybody for their patience. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Mr. McGarrett.
Yeah, I'd just like to mention, over the years, Larry and I have butted heads a few times, and this was unbelievable. The other night over at St. Denis Fair, Dennis Cagini was there, and he's Chico's Vibes. And he said, in the building is Jim McGarrity. And all of a sudden, who comes running up? My first fan, Larry Holmes. I couldn't believe it, ladies and gentlemen. He was there. We were shaking hands. Even one person taking a picture, the camera blew up. But we had a good time. We really had a good time. But anyway, that's Larry Holmes and I for the night. We got along good that night. I went to see McCluskey, and he wasn't there. But sorry about that.
I was working, Jim.
Oh, you were working. That's what it was.
At the fair, working.
Well, Larry was working too, but he came running over. So anyway, no, I do want to say I went to see the canines at Haverford High School, and wonderful display of entertainment there with the dogs. Our police department did very well. Am I right, John? And Deputy Chief Egan did very well. It was a good showing, quite a few people there, and I think Steve Wilson with the food, they made a donation to the young police officer who died up in Newtown Square, and it was just great. And I think the shirts that they sold, Haverford Township Police sold, that went to a donation to the police officer. So all in all, it was a great day with the canines. And the other thing I have is I want to congratulate, my wife said me not to do this, so that's why I'm doing it. She ran for president of the Grange, and she was successful along with Ann Barnett from the 5th Ward and quite a few others. Here's Connor Quinn in the back here. He's Friends of the Grange. So I just wanted to congratulate them all. They did a wonderful job, and congratulate everyone that ran for that position. And with that, I just want to ask one other question. The question about the plugs. Does that mean you could take a refrigerator, an air conditioner, anything with a plug?
Not large TVs. No, it's not large TVs.
I think it has to be no longer than, can't be anything bigger than 32 inches.
The TV.
32 inches?
Yeah, so no.
Yeah, small, and they say refrigerators like small refrigerators.
Okay. Okay, with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. McGarrett. Dr. Hart.
Yes, just two things. I want to second Ms. Coffey and encouraging people to come out to the Heritage Festival. It's Sunday, June 3rd. It runs from 11 to 4 on Caracon Drive. It's a great event every year. A lot of activity. Don't miss it. It's really a great event. And then secondly, for the residents on Earlington Road, it looked like the subcontractors from Aqua were finishing their work either today or tomorrow, which means that PennDOT can come in hopefully in the near future and finish the road. It's been about 4 months, and I appreciate all the residents' patience. It's been a really tough time. Much worse if you live on the road than if you have to drive it, but it looks like the near future should be done. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Hart. I'd also like to congratulate the organization of the Home and Garden Show. It was excellent. I spent about 3 hours there and spent a ton of money, so it was great. But my quarterly meeting will be Thursday, May 24th with the Hilltop Civic Association at the Bon Air Fire Company at 7:30 p.m. And tomorrow, May 15th, in addition to being primary election day, is National Peace Officers Day. Flags should be flown at half-staff in honor of all fallen police officers throughout the country. And then the last thing I have is it's just hitting me. Irene Coffey gets up and speaks. We get the people from the dog park come up and speak. We're truly blessed. The HPED runs a super show at the CREC. Not only do we have great facilities, but we have great people out there. You saw tonight that we had a young officer with 3 children here being honored. We live in a great community. We have good police officers. We have great facilities, but we have great citizens that volunteer their time and effort. Dr. Levin, I might not always agree with you, but I appreciate your passion to come up here and speak, as I do Rich, the dog park, David, and all the other people, and Irene, that take the time to volunteer. The group that clearing the Westgate path for their citizens over there. It's just a true tribute to the town that we live in. And I'm just proud that we all serve you, and we're proud to be members of the community along with you. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
Do I have an answer to the question of who owns the bridge?
We will get that, and I'm going to ask the township manager for the preliminary plans, or the township engineer, so that we can be informed and answer all the questions. Maybe have a mock-up and show you where it's going and all that kind of stuff. So
Hey, Bill.
we'll get that for you.
I just talked to Dave Pannoni, we just talked, we'll give an update on the bridge next.
Next work session, we'll go through all that.
Okay?
Yeah. Also, the major thing, Memorial Day, May 28th. Our ceremony will be here at the new building, right outside in the plaza, at 11 a.m. We have all the veterans groups and all the police and fire and EMS. We will remember the honor that have fallen in the last year, as well as remembering those that have passed away in the service of our country. So that's the 28th, Memorial Day, at 11 a.m. here. For those that are interested, there's also Memorial Mass at Sacred Heart every year at 8:30 on Saturday morning, given by the Hickey VF Catholic War Vets, honoring their deceased personnel as well. So all are welcome and encouraged to attend the Memorial Day ceremony on the 28th. At that, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment. So moved.